1, 2, testing. Can you guys hear me out there? Can't see me. You can hear me. Who's ready to get started? Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Weekly Narrative live stream. I never really know how to start the stream, so I just kind of go with the generic. Somebody's pissed out there. I hope you guys can see my nice Chinese flag that I have here, my impromptu Chinese flag. And today we're going to be talking about China a little bit. I'm going to present a couple of articles to you in the hopes of suggesting, or at least implying the possibility that China could overtake America in the near future as the superior dominant superpower on the planet. So welcome everybody to the chat. Echo, what's going on? Jennifer, Loaded Brush, I see you guys. I see you out there. CT, what's going on? You guys hear me okay? I haven't even been streaming for, I've been streaming for 3 minutes, including the long intro, and we're already talking about Jews in the chat. We're off to a great start. What's up, 500 subs? 500 subs with no videos. That's I like that. It's my favorite account name of the day right there. Huckleberry Auditor, welcome. So as I said, we're talking about China today, and we're also talking about the underlying narratives of how opinions are formed and assigned. And also we're going to look at what happens when new ideas come into the sphere of the cultural, political, mainstream media. What's up, Bill? Welcome. So the first article that I'm going to bring up today, and you guys know that I love to talk about gender dynamics. I swear I'm not specifically picking this article because it had to do with that. I saw this, I think it was right after the stream ended. No, it was a few days ago. And I knew I had to cover this. This is so great. It has to do with how China teaches their children. So we're going to get a little glimpse into, that's right, listen to the FBI. Everyone like the stream. There are 13 Chinese people to every American. Those odds in a war are guaranteed failure for both of us. There's simple math. Yes, so even beyond the simple math of their number superiority, we're going to look at various other reasons why culturally they are going to be superior and scientifically they're going to be superior. So let's jump right into it. This is from the New York Times. In China, a school trains boys to be real men. Notice how it's in quotes, because the idea of a real man in American culture is no longer has any kind of definition. Employing American football in chest-thumping chants, Tang Haiyan offers an answer to a country that worries that its sons are too coddled and feminine. We will never cultivate sissies, he says. I want to send my kid to this school already. I don't even have a kid. If I had one, I would send him to this school. He'd study abroad in China. I'm already sold. Like I'm already sold. So let's figure out what this guy's idea of being a man is. What does this school do differently? He runs a school with a clear mission in mind. He will train boys to be men. There are many ways to be a man, of course, but the broad-shouldered Mr. Tang has a particular kind of man in mind. This man plays sports. This man conquers challenges. I like that. I like that definition so far. Challenges and sports. It's a great foundation for becoming a man. Mr. Tang founded the Real Boys Club, which stands at the fore. How fast would that get banned in America, by the way? Real Boys Club? That's exclusive. It's not intersectional. That would get annihilated. This guy would have picketing outside of his office. People would be throwing firebombs through his windows. You know what I mean? Which stands at the forefront of a deep conversation in China about what it means to be a man. It's a debate that has been stirred by worries about military effectiveness, an embrace of traditional culture and roles, disappointing academic performance among boys, and echoes of the defunct one-child policy. Okay, so this is the result of worrying about military effectiveness, number one, an embrace of traditional culture and roles. Traditional culture and roles. Wow. And disappointing academic performance among boys. Does any of that sound like things that we've experienced here in America? At all? Most Americans wouldn't go out like that. How much blood they'd have to give. Oh, yeah. No, Americans don't want to fight. That's the thing. Nobody wants to join the military anymore. Hasn't China recently implemented an individual social score? If too low, they can't fly or use other modes of transportation. Yeah, so that may be one downfall if they overregulate themselves with a social networking rating system. It's kind of like that episode of Black Mirror. But aside from that, China's recognizing that there are cultural problems, and they're actually trying to fix that. Now, see, America was at a point in time, probably like 8 years ago, six years ago, somewhere between 5 and 10 years ago, where we had the choice. We said, so our men aren't really being like they used to. We have this issue with masculinity. Our culture seems to be having a rapid shift. We could either, I don't even think it was an option. They just straight up decided to go for the complete feminization of men. China took the opposite road. Or at least this guy in his school took the opposite road. Now, I don't know how big this school is, but if this is going to be something they can implement on a large scale, I'd be very worried. Very worried. I might start learning Mandarin. To the club's thinking, the alternative for boys ages 7 to 12 is life in a society where androgynous pop idols, overprotective mothers, and mostly female teachers would turn them into effeminate crybabies. Yeah. Are they not nailing this? Are they not nailing this completely? Did anyone not get notifications? Brian, welcome. What's up, buddy? I'm sure nobody got notifications because we talk about things that YouTube's not supposed to talk about on here. Right now we're talking about the reason why China is going to be superior because of the way they treat their boys. So here's a picture. Look at these kids. You can tell, they're yelling. They have these aggressive kind of looks on their faces. They've got their hands over their hearts. Kind of looks like what what is that? I forgot what it's even called. Declaration. Oh my God. Declaration of Independence. Wow. You stand up at the beginning of class every day. Help me out here. And you look at the flag and you put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. God, that's embarrassing. This is what, if you did like an amped up version of the Pledge of Allegiance, that's what this looks like, right? And they're shouting, "I am a real man." They say they pledge to study hard for the rise of China. Wow. Crazy nationalism right there. They must be white supremacists because, as we all know in this chat, being a nationalist is only one step away from being a white supremacist, right? So these are very nationalist kids who grow up with a lot of pride in their country. That's scary too, because we're not doing that here anymore. Okay, China, these kids, they actually care about their country. They want China to rise. That red wave, right? That red dragon, the sleeping dragon. In America, we're teaching our kids to hate the country. Look at the difference. China, love the country. Kids want to strive to work hard. America, kids hate the country, and they want it to fall. They literally chant. If you go to these protests, they say, no borders, no wall, no USA at all. All right? I've heard that one 1,000 times. They want America to cease existing. Who do you think is going to win? Now, this paragraph is, I highlighted this one orange for emphasis. Okay, so arguably, the club is intended to address a problem that China does not have. Chinese men still dominate top echelons of politics and business. Institutional sexism is widespread. Wealth is concentrated in the hands of men. Women complain of sexual harassment within public transport, universities, and companies. So this is... Now, I'll be honest, I read this article. I didn't realize it was from the New York Times until I read this paragraph. And then this paragraph made me question, wait a second, all right, who's writing this? Who's writing this article? Is this Washington Post? What's the agenda? Oh, I see Cut, Productions Inc. in chat. What's going on, Cut? Hope your recent video filming went well. We're talking about why Chinese kids are going to be superior. Well, Chinese men are going to be superior. And China, eventually. So, listen to this. The club is intended to address, arguably, a problem that China does not have. So the author is trying to argue that, oh, because men are still dominating the top echelons of politics and business, which means what? What does that mean? Percentage-wise, there are more men in business and politics? What does that have to do with sexism? What is that? It doesn't mean anything by itself. Saying that men dominate the top echelons of politics and business is an empty statement intended to pretend like there is actually still sexism and that men have some kind of advantage. But we all know here, because we're all aware that men and women are different and they have different interests. I'd like to see their take on who's dominating the top echelons of the medical and healthcare and social working areas of society. Why don't they mention that? Oh, because it's all women. But apparently we only care about politics and business. We don't care about healthcare. We don't care about social sciences, social services. Why do they use politics and business as their guiding figure for determining whether or not men are dominating? Institutional sexism is widespread. I don't know enough about that to comment, but I'm guessing it's not, because like here in America, they probably just say that. So, oh, and women complain of sexual harassment within public transport, universities, and companies. Is there ever going to be a time where somebody doesn't complain about sexual harassment? What does this even mean? One lady? 2 ladies complained? 3 ladies? 3 million ladies? What does that even mean? It means nothing. So this whole paragraph, you can tell by how meaningless it is, but also how strongly biased against the idea of the article itself. You can tell right here that this is, now we're reading some kind of propagandized version of this. So knowing that, thank you, New York Times, for pointing out your blatant bias and your lack of intelligence. Let's continue on. What's up, Tara? Welcome. Finally got a moderator in chat. Justin Bieber's coming in hot with the FUs. I like it. China's preoccupation with strong men has taken on a political dimension. It's almost like America's preoccupation with strong women, how that's taken on a political dimension. Feeding concerns about whether young Chinese males are in trouble. State media has said video games, masturbation, and a lack of exercise have made many young men ill-suited for the military. Erasing the gender characteristics of a man who is not afraid of death and hardship is tantamount to a country's suicide. Listen to that. Historically thinking, you think of ancient Chinese warriors, right, fighting the Mongols or whatever it was. You think of people who had like honor and a willingness to die for their country, right? What happened to that? We don't have that in America anymore. Nobody wants to go fight for the honor. I mean, there's a small group, of course, of super hardcore patriots that want to serve and all that, but it's not like a widespread cultural phenomenon anymore. People who want to actually go, like they say, the gender characteristics of a man. This is built into what a man is. Someone who's not afraid of death and hardship. Does that sound like American men? No. American men are afraid of not having a vegetarian option at the menu at the restaurant. That's what they're afraid of. And they're afraid of girls on the internet not paying taxes on their donations to cam sessions. That's my nod to the topic that I won't be covering today. So they're saying that erasing the gender characteristics is tantamount to a country suicide. It is still necessary for a boy to be raised as a boy and a girl to be raised as a girl. Mr. Peng said in a telephone interview, they should not be raised based on the opposite gender. Wow. So contrast that to how schools in Colorado, for example, right now are importing transvestites, trannies who are wearing like makeup and like devil's costumes and horns and dresses to speak to kindergarten classes, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds about how it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be trans, it's okay to be whatever. Contrast that. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying contrast that with this mentality right here. I got my money on the guys who are willing to die for their country. So the teacher is a former football coach, which tells you a lot right there. I mean, that's all you need to know. If you want to at least give your kid a fighting chance in today's society, at least send your kid to football camp or something. Make him play football. Okay, put him in some contact sports. Make him break his leg, his arm, whatever, a few times, hit his head, fight some kids, get bruises, all that kind of stuff. Send him into sports at least. So now we're talking about Sun Yi, who enrolled her 8-year-old son, paid $2,000 for a semester's worth of classes. Not bad. It's a steal, I think, for the life of your child. He used to cry. He used to like to cry, but now I think he has a much sunnier disposition. I feel his tolerance ability has improved, and now he knows how to deal with failure and frustration. Remember a few weeks ago I had a whole 2-hour live stream on failure? Because that's at the core of how to be a man. Football, no, CT, they're playing American football in China. At this school, they're playing American football, real football. Not that sissy football, not that European stuff. Get that out of here. No, nobody wants that. When one of them cries, we will definitely not comfort him, said Mr. Guo, who's 30. We will only encourage him to be strong. Contrast this. Notice I'm using this as a compare and contrast culturally to America. Contrast this with American safe spaces on college campuses where you can go and if you heard a word that you didn't like, somebody said something like, there's only 2 genders. Now, of course, I'll admit that's a very traumatic statement to hear for some people. So what they would do in America is they give you a room with Play-Doh and stuffed animals and beanie bags. You go and sit in there and you play with the animals, and you have to remove all the negative stimulus from yourself, and you have to go there and you just cry and you let your feelings out. They probably have a counselor there who can walk you through your feelings, because it's a tough time to hear things like that, like there's only 2 genders, or Trump is your president, things like that. It's traumatic things to hear. Tara says, I like Mr. Guo. That's what I'm saying. I want to send my kids to this school. I'm an American. I am a nationalist. I am not a racist, says Brian in the chat. Sounds like there's some deeper discussion going on there. Nationalism should not be shamed. No, and up until I think the timeline was like this year. I think we just saw the tipping point of where nationalism, because it started out with white nationalism, right? We went from racist to white nationalist, and the fact that the word nationalist is in that phrase, white nationalist, means that the culture creep of what's acceptable is eventually going to get to just that word nationalist, because that's how it works. You start specific and you broaden the definition until you get to what you want. Because you can't just come out and say nationalism is Nazism. You couldn't do that like 2 years ago. Next year, totally fine. You're going to hear it on college campuses everywhere. People are going to say nationalism is Nazism, and it makes you a Nazi. So it's a creep. They're getting there. And now, just like in the last couple months, we've seen the word nationalist turn into this bad word. So you're right. Look, and now he's being consoled, right? Because this kid, he lost at soccer or something. A teacher lecturing one of the enrolled students. Boys can be demoted to smelly egg level for misbehavior. So they call their kids smelly eggs. They actually call them like bad words. Not bad words, he's not calling them trash, but there's no trophy for every loser at this school. Okay, there are smelly eggs. There are losers. And you need that. Because if everyone's a winner, you have nothing to aspire to. If you're a loser, that should drive you to become a winner. Every Sunday, the boys hop on a bus at 7:40 a.m. and ride to a sports school nestled in the hills of western Beijing, where they play soccer, games that involve teamwork and strength, and football, a sport that is still new to many in China. So I lied, CT, and that was fake news. They play soccer and football. One day in December, they will run shirtless. Wow, that's hardcore. So here's a picture of the Chinese kids playing American football, because I think they understand. And they say right here, the boys sprint and tackle one another as they learn about football. That's the whole point, is like it's physical competition. You need that. Don't be a smelly egg. Don't do it. Some in China blame boys' lacking behavior on a lack of male role models. Oh, interesting. Fathers are rarely involved in their sons' upbringing, according to government research. Well, now where have I heard this before? I could have swore there was some other issue where single parenthood seemed to be the root of the issue, but nobody wanted to acknowledge it. I don't know. It escapes me right now. Maybe it'll come up. Even pop culture figures have sparked complaints. A number of parents were outraged when China's state broadcaster, China Central Television, in September featured a boy band whose members wore makeup. Oh, no. The parents complained that these pop idols could cause their sons to behave in a feminine way. If you try to complain about that in America, you just get called a bigot. And then your son would probably get exiled from school. The program does not encourage the boys to run amok. Boys who commit infractions, such as pushing other boys, hurling vulgarities, get points deducted and can get demoted from Phoenix level to the smelly egg level. Now, I don't know about you, but I want to be a Phoenix. That sounds pretty sweet. Other men say they have doubts about the effectiveness of male-oriented schools. Wang Chengpeng, 23, a marketing employee for a storage company who loves wearing makeup, said his mother burned all his dolls because she thought it was too girly. He later came out as gay. On the surface, these children may try to keep in line with the requirements of their parents and these educational institutions, and then present a superficial image. He said, but their essence will remain the same. And that brings up a great point. And that's that the school alone is not going to turn kids into men, okay? It's just a positive environmental influence to help them get to that point. The main contributing factor is obviously going to be their parents and how they're raised by their parents. The school is just something to kind of probably, guide them in a particular direction, encourage them. Now, contrast this again, like I said, with what you have now in America, which is the encouragement of the destruction of gender roles and the structureless society where everyone is just this amorphous blob of biological matter. It doesn't mean anything. You're not, if you have, it doesn't matter what parts you have. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. You're all the same. It doesn't matter. You have no strengths. You have no weaknesses. You're all the same. And you're all winners. Nobody's a loser. It doesn't matter how much effort you put in. You're still a winner. That doesn't create a strong society. Am I wrong? Am I out of line here? What do you guys, let's see what the chats. Okay, we have a heated discussion about Jews going on in chats. That's good. You guys aren't even paying attention, are you? You just come on here to talk about Jews to try to get me banned off YouTube. They love to argue that nationalists are Nazis because the definition of Nazi has national in it. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, they kind of leave out the part where Nazi has the word socialist in it. But and anti-Semitic memes went too far. Jokes are okay, but full-blown anti-Semitism, okay. All right, we're talking about Jews. That's good. I like it. I like where the direction is going. Atomized society. We are all androgynous Koreans. Close. The natural conservative. So if this wasn't bad enough, okay, so take what I just talked about here. Combine this with the fact that now China is genetically modifying their kids. Did you guys see this one? I didn't see this on any of the big... Wait a second. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see this on any of the big news channels. Before I dive into this CRISPR genetic modification of Chinese babies to make superior life forms, I was thinking on the ride home from work today about how this is going to be an interesting experience, because the whole gene editing thing, where does this lie on the political spectrum? Because this is going to be politicized. People are going to have super strong opinions about this, but who has what opinions right now? Any other topic you can take, and then you either know or you can throw it out there and you can judge by the reactions. You know exactly who's supposed to believe what, right? If I go to Fox News, they're going to say this is bad and this is good. If I go to MSNBC, of course, they're going to say Trump is bad and Bernie Sanders is good. Abortion is good. Gay marriage is good. These issues are all polarized, right, to one particular political party. Now, this is something, this idea of genetic modification, it's been floating around. Yeah, it's been back and forth. We've seen some little rumblings about, oh, CRISPR, it's coming. We can do this. We can do that. CRISPR in rats. We can make rats immune to cancer. We can give rats laser beams coming out of their eyes, whatever. You know what I mean? Depending on how this is applied, we're going to see in the early stages of the kind of maturity of this idea, we're going to see it become politicized. And I don't know what the political alignment is right now. I don't know who's supposed to believe what. I don't know what I'm supposed to think about it. What am I supposed to think about gene editing kids? What do you think about gene editing kids? This isn't a topic where I'm going to come and say this is bad, this is good, like, illegal immigration. I can make arguments for why it's good. I believe it's good or bad. This is something where I'm kind of not, I haven't made up my mind. And that part of that is because, and I'll admit, and you should all admit too, everyone's afraid to admit this, what I'm about to say. We're afraid to admit that our opinions are assigned to us, largely. Like, percentage-wise, your opinion is assigned to you based on who you align with politically. So if you watch Fox News all day, you're going to be told to think that illegal immigration is bad. Abortion is bad. MSNBC, if you watch that all day, you're going to be told that Trump is bad. Your opinions are given to you to a large degree by the people that you listen to. If you watch the Young Turks, you hate America, you hate every conservative, you think they're all Nazis, you think Antifa are the best on the planet, you know what I mean? If you do enough psychedelics, you get to pick your own opinions. That's true. But what I'm saying, the point that I'm making is people don't really know what to think about this yet because it hasn't been politicized. It's too new. We're witnessing the birth of a new concept. And right now is the moment of its birth because it's actually happening to humans. Up until now, it hasn't been applied to humans. Now, we have Chinese scientists creating CRISPR babies. Okay, we're not modifying rats anymore. This now has real world complications or implications. There's a set of twins who were born with one gene flipped to make them immune, or not immune, but heavily resistant to HIV. So the way this works is that this is in vitro fertilization. So they fertilize the egg with sperm, and while it's still before it starts splitting into a human, they input a little gene robot that does gene surgery on the cells to make them resistant to HIV, smallpox, and cholera. Now, the first question I have is how and why is this different from, say, for example, a vaccine? Because what we're going to see now that this is out there, and I haven't looked at everyone's reactions yet. I haven't gone around to Fox News, to all the pundits, all the Twitter people, and listened to all their stupid opinions on what's going on with this, to know what people are freaking out about. Some people are going to say that this is going to lead to like robot killer efficient, evolutionary anomalies that are going to be superior races. Some people are saying this is great because we can cure diseases and we don't have to worry about diseases anymore. Okay, yeah, there's argument both ways, but it's just going to into Island of Dr. Moreau. Well, that's the thing. So once this becomes commercialized and available, and it is actually simple and cheap. Once this becomes available, people are going to want to say, I want to make sure my kid has blue eyes. I want to make sure my kid has light skin because, as everyone in chat is pointing out, people in like Korea, there's probably $1 billion industry, several $1 billion industry of skin lightening creams. People want to look different. They want to customize themselves the same way they would customize themselves in a video game. Okay, it's like Ready Player One. Okay, you guys remember that movie or the book Ready Player One? You create the character, you go in there, you have an avatar, you can make yourself look like whatever you want. It'll be a reality eventually, but right now we're stuck with editing genes to make sure that I have black hair, curly hair, blue eyes, whatever it is, or immunity to certain diseases. Now, I want to be a GMO kid. Hey, there's nothing wrong with GMO food. Studies say it's safe stuff. Okay, I just have to listen to the studies. But let's read a little bit about this. When Chinese researchers first edited the genes of a human embryo in a lab dish in 2015, it sparked global outcry and pleas from scientists not to make a baby using the technology, at least for the present. It was the invention of a powerful gene editing tool, CRISPR, which is cheap and easy to deploy, that made the birth of humans genetically modified and in vitro fertilization center a theoretical possibility. Now it appears it already may be happening. According to Chinese medical documents posted online this month, here, a team at the Southern University of Science and Technology in Shenzhen has been recruiting couples in an effort to create the first gene-edited babies. They plan to eliminate a gene called CCR5 in hopes of rendering the offspring resistant to HIV, smallpox, and cholera. The clinical trial documents describe a study in which CRISPR is employed to modify human embryos before they're transferred into women's uteruses. So does this give these kids an illegitimate advantage? People talk about privilege and all this kind of stuff. Like these kids are actually going to be born superior to other humans because they can't get cholera or HIV or smallpox. And those kids are going to go on to have kids. Probably they're much more likely to have kids because if you can't get HIV, you're probably not going to worry too much about, how you interact with other people, or at least not worry as much. So it's going to affect your behavior. They're going to make more kids resistant to HIV, and then this amount of people that are resistant to HIV is just going to keep growing and growing and growing until they take over, right? Like the HIV resistant subspecies or superior species. Microsoft F-150 eugenics program comes as standard. Do you want the Microsoft, Taco Bell, or Disney model of the F-150? What the hell are you talking about? Microsoft, Taco Bell, and Disney will own all of our highways. We will no longer be a country. We will be a country of Microsoft. I see what you're saying. Half the population of the world is actively killing each other. Look at Chicago or Africa. So, speaking of Africa, imagine Africans who are all HIV resistant. What are the consequences of that? Because it's like wiping out a lot of Africans right now, along with Ebola. You could make a gene that makes you, maybe there's a gene you could switch that makes you resistant to Ebola. If you could, 100 years ago, if you told someone that you could make someone immune to smallpox by editing their genes before they're born, they would think you're talking about some kind of out of this world sci-fi fantasy stuff, right? Nope, not anymore. Not anymore. It's real thing. So what else can we do? Can I get it modified to produce more muscles, like the muscle mass, testosterone? Can I be a super, like an actual Superman? Can I be modified to not age as much? Are we going to have a class of people that are going to be timeless? Like their bodies their telomeres don't degrade, which is like the telomeres are the end parts of the DNA strand that kind of shorten over time and degrade how your DNA is splitting apart, which is what contributes to aging. I'm not trying to be a biologist or anything, but I've watched quite a bit of videos on that kind of stuff. Let's continue on with the article here. What are they going to do with this? Data submitted as part of the trial listing shows that genetic tests have been carried out on fetuses as late as 24 weeks or 6 months. It's not known if those pregnancies were terminated, carried to term, or are ongoing. Oh, great. So they have experiments that we don't even know about. What did they do to those kids? We don't even know if they're, they could be in society in as little as a few months, and then you wouldn't even know the difference. The birth of the first genetically tailored humans would be a stunning medical achievement for both he and China, but it will prove controversial too. Where some see a new form of medicine that eliminates genetic disease, others see a slippery slope to enhancements, designer babies, and a new form of eugenics. In this ever more competitive global pursuit of applications for gene editing, we hope to be a standout. So they're turning this into, this is going to be one of those things that China becomes known for. Probably what you're going to end up seeing is something like this. Gene editing becomes a thing. It's going to be a thing. It's going to be a thing. It's just a matter of time. Countries like America, European countries, they'll probably put some stupid regulations on it that say, oh no, you can't modify your kids, and then people will just take their embryos out of state or out of country to Mexico and do it and then bring it back or something like that. Whereas China, they're just going to go full bore. They're going to embrace it. They're going to be like, none of our kids are ever going to get smallpox, AIDS, they're going to be immune to sarin gas, whatever, you know what I mean? Like they're going to start to make superhumans. And then you have the factor of time. So you do this, and then you add the factor of times. These people who are modified are going to have kids that have these genes, and then it's just going to proliferate throughout society until all of China. How many generations until all of China is genetically modified to some degree? World's leading experts are going to Hong Kong to talk about genetically modifying humans. So I want to know what you guys think in the chat. Just really quick, before you're assigned an opinion about what to think about this, what do you guys think about genetically modifying? Another interesting thing about genetics is that you're going to start to see, or it's going to become obvious, that people have slightly different genetic differences. And we have this group of people right now who are trying to tell us that there's no difference between races. Race is a social construct. Gender is a social construct. Well, when they apply for genetic modifications, you know, we can just tell them, I'm sorry, you don't believe in this technology. This doesn't exist to you in your world, so you're actually ineligible for this. Tell them something like that. Echo, you think it's scary? Brian says, I work in the nursery business. I have absolutely no issue with GMO seeds, plants, etc., etc. Well, you know, there's been thousands of studies on GMO food, and the massive consensus is that they are safe to eat. It'd be like one of those annoying cloud storage services like Firebase, where they charge by the megabyte or gigabyte, and there won't be any weight unit conversion, so no one will know what's going on. I'm not sure what you mean, like the genetic info. That's interesting. So what's the model going to be like? The business model, like, oh, you get access to 20% of your kid's DNA. Do you want the premium subscription, the premium DNA modifications, where you can just like edit the basics? You can edit like the eye color and the height, something like that, and then you pay extra to get access to what do you want your kid's IQ to be, or you know, there's not a gene for specifically to make your IQ a certain number, but I'm sure there are genes they can flip to increase the likelihood that you're going to be smarter. Now we may not know what all those are right now, but genetically, most of us are ethnically Jews. I don't know enough about that to say yes or no. Jews have done a pretty good job preserving our culture. There are light-skinned, brown-skinned, and dark-skinned Jews. However, our culture remains constant and strong. Yeah, they don't seem dead set on kind of like changing themselves like black people. They have this culture of relatively recently of wanting to lighten their skin. Same with Asians. I know it's big in Korea. I want whatever gene the K-pop people have, the Korean gene. People that are scared of GMOs remind me of anti-vaxxers. GMOs is a fun topic to talk to people about because it's anti-GMOs. It's like you're saying, it's kind of like an anti-vaccine thing. There's no science to support the idea that GMOs are bad. And everyone who's on that side, who are usually arguing against things that are anti-science, choose to ignore that, and they are the ones who are arguing against GMOs. It's a very strange topic. But yeah, just if you want to look at the science, there's really not any science to support the idea that GMOs are bad. This is how we turn into gray aliens in the future. So there's this section in this article that I want to cover, and then we'll wrap it up. They're talking about regrets and concerns. I think it's fair to have some concern. The genetic editing of a speck-sized human embryo carries significant risks, including the risk of introducing unwanted mutations. Oh, I didn't think about that. Mutations. That's a cool idea. Are we gonna get some actual like monsters? Could be the start. This could be the start of some kind of rabies virus infection zombie outbreak type thing. You know. Mutations. That's cool. Yielding a baby whose body is composed of some edited and some unedited cells. Data on the Chinese trial indicate that one of the fetuses is a mosaic of cells that had been edited in different ways. Okay. All right. This is getting a little interesting. A gene editing scientist, Fyodor Ornov, associate director at Someplace, a nonprofit in Seattle, Seattle, reviewed the Chinese documents and said that while incomplete, they do show that this effort aims to produce a human with altered genes. So this is like the early stages of any technology, right? They're not gonna go all out immediately. But you know, when electricity was created, people didn't think that I would be talking to you over thousands of miles on the internet with video and audio in a nearly instant manner. Okay, it started out slow. And then it's going to escalate to superhumans or super mutants. Ernov called the undertaking cause for regret and concern over the fact that gene editing, a powerful and useful technique, was put to use in a setting where it was unnecessary. Indeed, studies are already underway to edit the same gene in the bodies of adults with HIV. Okay, well then what's the problem? It's hard to explain foray into human germ-line genetic engineering that may overshadow in the mind of the public a decade of progress in gene editing of adults and children to treat existing disease. All right, so then what is the big deal? If we were already making people immune to HIV with different treatments, we're already editing genes in the bodies of adults, then why is everyone so afraid? Tara says, I'll eat GMOs just so I don't have to pay $10 for a head of organic lettuce. I wouldn't eat lettuce anyway, man, because every other week I'm getting notices and seeing news articles about E. coli and all that kind of stuff. Blacks wanting to lighten their skin is just a prescribed agenda. It's not organic. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't doubt that. Some kind of top-down strategy, you know? Narrative propagation teams now exist on YouTube. Yet another compartmentalized area of the computer sciences. I like that. We're going to need some narrative propagation teams. Speaking of narrative propagation, let's look at this guy's YouTube. I want to show you just a couple, well, not a couple seconds. I want to show you like a minute of this guy's, this is the He Lab. This is the guys who did the genetic modification. Talking about the actual modification, what happened, and let's just listen in on what he has to say about Lulu and Nana, the twins born.
Two beautiful little Chinese girls named Lulu and Nana came crying into the world as healthy as any other babies a few weeks ago. The girls are home now with their mom Grace and dad Mark.
Wait, what? Grace and Mark? Did he say Grace and Mark? I don't know about that. I've never met a Chinese person named Mark. So right away, I'm thinking this is some kind of propagandized version to make the idea a little easier to swallow for Americans, right? Because Grace and Mark, come on.
Grace started her pregnancy by regular IVF, with one difference. Right after we sent her husband's sperm into her egg, we also sent in a little bit of protein and instruction for a gene surgery. When Lulu and Lala was just a single cell,
Can't say Nana.
this surgery removed the doorway through which HIV entered to infect people. A few days later, before returning Lulu and Lana to Grace's womb, we checked how the gene surgery went by whole genome sequencing. The result indicated that the surgery worked safely as intended. Grace's pregnancy.
So in the beginning, I want to point out another thing. Look, so this is how they're kind of selling it. You probably can't see the subtitle on the video because it's kind of small, but it says two beautiful little Chinese girls named Lulu and Nana, who realistically, that's probably not their name either. Those are probably Americanized versions of their name. Because, this guy's trying to drum up some business, right? He's trying to sell the idea. But that's how they're selling it. Two beautiful little Chinese girls. This is going to come... Yeah, Lala. He can't say Nana. He says Lala.
Beautiful little Chinese girl named Lulu and Lala.
Anyway, I'm a little skeptical because of the way that this is being sold to us. That's all I'm saying. They're trying to be like, oh, look at this. This is so beautiful. This is great. This is amazing. Mark and Grace had a baby. No, there's no Mark. There's no Grace. Ask a nation to say Lululemon. You'll die. All right. You're leaving, Tara? All right. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching. So yeah, this is how they're trying to sell the idea. Okay, this is good. This is great. This is wonderful. Look, it's such a good thing. But the article, it leaves me just with more questions. And that's kind of the whole point of covering this topic, is that I haven't been assigned an opinion on this yet. I haven't read other people's information on what to think. Now, I just probably don't even have enough information yet. Same, and I didn't, when I was looking in the chat, almost nobody responded when I asked, what do you think? They said, a couple people said scary. But if you were having a kid and you had HIV, is it scary if the doctor offers you the ability to make your kid not have HIV? Is that scary? That could be good. But yeah, the point is China, they're going to go full bore on this, okay? And combined with these super kids that they're making in school, they're Chinese super men who aren't afraid of failure and aren't afraid of admitting that there are only two genders. I think America's going to be done for pretty soon, guys. I don't know. It's not looking good. Not looking good. That's why I'm trying to make sure that they're aware of my nationalism, my patriotism. I'm all for it when the Red Army invades and they just steamroll over all of our transgender soldiers and the training teachers in our schools and all that kind of stuff, and the men who are wearing makeup who refuse to go into the military. When they just steamroll us, hey, the schools sound great in China. I'm willing to send my kid to a school in China. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. I'm trying to point out the fact that unless we change what we're doing here, we are actually screwed. I forget what the official term they use for narrative propagation teams, but they already have one operating within the truth movement. A lot of them have computer skills too, so you can't name them. Well, Twitter itself is a narrative propagation machine. They're going to allow certain narratives and disallow other narratives. I think Jack, the head Twitter guy, just came out recently and said something about how they want to facilitate discussion in society, and they're going to be helping facilitate that. And it's like, for some reason, everyone thinks Twitter is the way to have dialogue now. Like, that's how you talk. And everyone I'm looking at, even the people that I follow, the people who I look up to for my ideas, they take Twitter seriously. I don't take Dave Rubin that seriously anymore, but Dave Rubin is always talking about Twitter. And I don't know if it's because he's gay or if it's because he's in this sphere of cultural, political discussion, but man, he just can't shut up about Twitter. It's like, dude, you're complaining about Twitter constantly. You're complaining about how they're editing the narrative and they're controlling the narratives that are being propagated. You're complaining about it while being complicit and participating in it. It's like, man, you could just delete your account and then you don't have to worry about it, right? That is an option. It's not compelled. You don't have to use Twitter. You don't have to participate in these mediums, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube even. You don't have to participate in these things that are controlling the narrative and are propagating these certain narratives. So they cry about it, and I just can't find any empathy for them in my body because it's just stupid. I deleted my Facebook. You can delete your Facebook too. Delete the Twitter. I might delete mine. Otherwise, China is going to take over with their genetically superior supermen. It's coming. They will get rid of the like button. Exactly. Perfect example. Twitter is talking about getting rid of is that what they were talking about in that statement? Twitter said they're going to get rid of the like button because, like everything else, you can't have a Twitter post that's a winner and a Twitter post that's a loser. We don't want you to judge the quality of your content based off of how many likes it gets. You're all winners, okay? That is also scary because they can feed you stuff where normally you would see things that have large amounts of likes. They don't have to do that now. They can filter stuff that's specifically about one topic, one narrative. If they want to propagate this narrative, they show you this regardless of how many likes it has. It doesn't matter. You can't tell anymore because they're not going to show you. So there's no way to tell quality posts from non-quality posts. There's no more ranking. It's all flat, just like society in America. That's what they want to turn it into, flat. Terrible. Well, I hope you guys are afraid of China now or want to move to China. That's all I got for you today. Next week, I'll be back with some more topics. There's a link to the Discord in the description. If you guys have articles or topics that you want me to talk about, join the Discord. Is it still in there? The Discord link is not in the chat. Oh, yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's there. Discord link is in the description. Drop articles you want me to talk about. Drop some topics you want me to talk about. It's there and available for you guys to use. Mitch Connor, you got here just in time for the stream to end, buddy. But hit up the Discord if you want. Hit up the super chats or the Patreon if you want. That's all I got for you guys this week. I'll see you next week. Peace out, Jeremy from the Weekly Narrative.